Okay, everybody, what the heck? What the hell day is this? It's September 28th, 2022. And yeah, it's a Cranky Comic Book Review show. I'll get into it in a minute. We got some books. Some are good. Well, it's an okay week for comics. But a little bit of housekeeping first. From here on out, after this week, my schedule's probably going to change. I'm moving and I've got a new job, and so I'm not going to have as much time to read things during the day on Wednesday. So I will still do the Cranky Comic Book Review show, but it's probably not going to be dropping at 8:30 every Wednesday. I don't know when it'll drop. I'll get there. It'll come out. It might be a little bit later, though. So it is what it is. Deal with it. Or don't. Whatever. But thank you for watching so far, and everybody that continues to watch this stuff. I really do appreciate it. And I hope you please do keep watching me, even if I can't get things out at the same time. It means a lot. It does. And now let's get cranky, huh? All right. Worst to best. There's a few books I did not get this week. One of them was Superman Space Age #2. I really wanted it. My LCS didn't get a copy. I'll maybe try and find it next week at my new LCS, or I will just trade weight it. I think it might actually be a better book for trade weight. It's an $8 book, and I really like the first issue. I love Mark Russell's writing. I really like the All Reds artwork. It's just that adds up. It's like $25 just for 3 issues of a book. I could probably get a trade paperback for like 10 or 15, and so I might just review it as a trade. And a couple others. I can't remember what else came out this week, but I'm sure I missed some shit. And yeah, let's get into it. Worst to best. Oh dear God! All right. Here's the thing. I'm a big fan of Thor. I hated the new movie because it was god awful, but I generally liked Donny Cates' run on this, especially at first. It just seems like it started off really great, and it's been kind of going ever since. And look at that. I got the mic. That's my mic. Anyways, and now there's either fill-in writer, or it looks like it might be transitioning into an Al Ewing book. And oh crap, I don't love Al Ewing's writing. I tried reading We Only Find Them When They're Dead. I tried reading his Defenders. I've tried reading a bunch of his other stuff, and he just doesn't really do it for me. I don't think he's got a great ear for dialogue. I don't really give a shit about his plots. And, of course, the very first thing that happens is there's a tie-in with Venom, which I really don't care about that character. And I really hated the newest iteration of it and the Al Ewing Rom V series. I just thought it was weirdly paced all over the place, and I don't give a rat's ass about the King of Black thing. So, I don't give a rat's ass about this issue. It pains me to say this, but if it becomes an Al Ewing book, I might drop Thor, because I just don't care. He's went back to like the these and the thous and the verilies when talking about Thor. And you got Salvador LaRocca on the art, who I don't like as much as Nick Klein. I don't think this art felt like a rush job, and it felt kind of god awful on this as well. And there's really not much to this book. There's like a D-list villain that shows up, and then there's a team up with Venom, kind of. I'm not spoiling a whole lot. It's on the goddamn cover, people. And it looks like it might be setting up a next arc, and it looks like it might be setting up the next direction of things that just really does not hold interest for me. I don't think this is a necessary issue. I think it's a very big letdown, and I was hoping for a return to at least decent quality after that god-awful Banner of War, whatever the hell nonsense crossover was. But no, we still have mopey-ass Thor doing mopey-ass things and being mopey and just not being a fun, entertaining superhero book. And then there's a Loki thing in it. I love Loki, but it also felt like a waste and not a very well-used Loki. So it is what it is. But yeah, goddamn, I hated that issue. All right, next. We have Marvel Voices Comunidades. I'm sorry, I'm not fluent in Spanish, so I probably butchered that pronunciation, and I'm going to butcher a lot of what I'm talking about here. I should probably learn Spanish, huh? Anyways, this is Chimera. See, I don't even know how to pronounce the name of the character. And we're doing it with my webcam again, so you get the weird ghostly look. My regular cam is packed because I'm moving. This is Marvel's Voices. This is a first appearance, so grab it if you want that. I think there's a first appearance of a villain or two in here. Probably not major villains. But the thing with these is they tend to be... It's an anthology book with short stories, and they tend to be pretty goddamn stupid. And this is kind of no difference. The White Tiger Chimera one's the best of the bunch in here, and it's not great, but it does at least introduce an intriguing enough character that has the potential to have some kind of backstory that maybe could turn into something down the line. Then there's a Sam Alexander Nova story written by Fabian Nicieza. Again, butchering names. That's really ham-fisted and really pro-immigration and everything else. And I'm agreed. I don't disagree with the message. I just disagree with the over-the-top ham-fisted storytelling. It's not a very good story, and that's where I have an issue with it. And then there's a couple other. I can't even remember what else is in here. There's not a lot of memorable stuff. There's a shark girl, shark maid, shark whatever, silly goofy thing in here. And then there's. Is that it? Did I miss something else? I feel like I missed something else. Oh, a really, really stupid Miles Morales story. Like an insanely stupid Miles Morales story with a really stupid new villain. Yeah, it feels like lip service to give, these creators just like 8 pages to do something instead of just saying, hey, here's an actual title. Work your magic and tell a good, compelling story and see what you can do with an ongoing. I've said this before with the voices. I don't think it's necessarily an awful thing, but I think they could do so much better, and I think that these creators deserve so much better. And I do think telling an 8-page story or 4-page story, whatever, is very damn tricky, and it's hard to pull off, and it mostly didn't work for me in here. All right, next. I got this because it was kind of a slow week, and whatever. The these and the thous and the verilies. I think dialogue is tricky, and I think telling a story and having characters speak in quote-unquote ancient dialogue, whatever, it's a hard thing to pull off, and this didn't work for me either. This is Christopher Cantwell writing. I'm sorry, again, my camera's real ghostly and stuff. I'll get a new camera sorted out when I move at some point. But Christopher Cantwell, Hermine Garcia, and Matthews Lopez. Briar, it's Briar Rose, who's the Prince Charming. Is that it? I don't know. The one where she spins thread and pricks her fingers and falls asleep until somebody kisses her. It turns out nobody kisses her, and that's this book. I don't know, it's got an interesting enough idea. Like, that alone sounds like an interesting enough idea. It just really fails in the execution. The art is sketchy and kind of, hard to follow in places. And then, you're thrust into this world and asked to care about this unsympathetic character. And it doesn't necessarily become much more sympathetic as the story goes along. And the action's not that fantastic. It's all right. It's just kind of, The whole thing's one big shrug. And there are, I don't know. Yeah, it's just... Yeah, it's fine. There's not a whole lot I can say about this, really, without spoiling much more than I already have. So if the idea sounds interesting, give it a chance. Or give it a shot, I guess. But, the dialogue is tough to get over for me. And I do think dialogue is probably one of the harder things to write in comics, is my guess. I've not written a comic, but it just feels like it would be that way. And the dialogue doesn't ring true, and it even doesn't ring true, especially when it's forced weird accents and forced to try and be something it's not. And I'm not saying write in modern slang. I'm not saying write in any kind of forced new dialogue, but write in a sort of a new dialogue neutral thing. And then your ideas will come across. But I don't know if even the fairy tales I spoke with these and thous and verilies and all that crap, it wasn't alive. It just doesn't seem like they would have. They might have. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't read well today, regardless. So, yeah, it's all right. All right, next, we have the book that everyone has a hard-on for, and it's all right. I'm fine. It's very predictable in the broad strokes. There are, little beats that are not, but this is just, I don't know, grim. It's Grim number 5, Stephanie Phillips and Flaviano in the art. Stephanie Phillips has written some stuff before that I've kind of enjoyed. I like Nuclear Family. This is a frustrating book. Because I keep struggling to understand why the hell it's so popular with people and why the hell everyone seems to dig it, because I just really don't get it. Story about Grim Reapers that are reaping souls, right? And then there's a mysterious Grim Reaper who's got a mysterious backstory. And I'll give you 3 guesses what her backstory is. You're probably going to get it. And if you don't, I don't know what to tell you. You're not a very good guesser. But yeah, it's the most obvious, oh, yep, of course. That's who I thought she would be, and that's who she is, and there you go. And it's just pretty predictable, and plot-wise, not much has really happened. And we're 5 issues in, and it's not when the plot doesn't happen, and then there's not a lot of character development, and then when there is the character development that is there is pretty dull. I mean, there's some okay action scenes by Flaviano and stuff, and there's some cool illustrations. Kind of reminds me of a shitty Daniel Warren Johnson in that part. Not shitty, just not quite as good at the action stuff, I guess. And it's okay. It's just, they're not for me. I don't know. Whatever. Your mileage may vary. I think that's an 8-issue miniseries. I've got a feeling I know how that's going to wrap up, and I've got a feeling I don't give a shit. But I also think I'm probably invested enough I have to finish it. So we will see. But like, yeah, it just everything about this seems like okay. I know where it's heading, and so far it has not surprised me at all. And I like a few surprises. All right, next we have Triskele. I'm sorry. Oh, I still don't know how to pronounce this. This is the most action-packed issue. I think it's a 7-issue mini. It's based on a novel by Felipe Pan. Felipe Pan's been on the channel before. He's great. It was a really fun interview. My first creator-owned interview, actually. And Monorami's doing the art. And this definitely, the action has started to pick up. It's a Gaelic, Arthurian legend kind of young adult story. And it has its influences in like C.S. Lewis, Chronicles of Narnia, especially. And you know, these 3 young kids are on an adventure. Stuff happens. They get in peril. Mysterious strangers come along. You don't know their motives, and that's kind of where we are right now. It probably will read better as a trade, or it might have read better as a completed novel. It has a kind of a little bit of a jarring ending, which has happened with a few of the other issues. It's expected a little bit. It's just the beat felt a little bit off to me. I'm liking the story well enough, and I really like Monoramis's art, but in this one, there are a few of the action sequences where I just didn't understand what was happening at first, and it took me a little while to get it. I think the artist is very talented, and I think the sketchy character stuff really works mostly, but it's also sometimes difficult to tell which character is which. And there's just sometimes where like some of these panels feel like I don't know what the hell's going on, especially when it's chopped into very tiny little panels there. And some of it's dialogue and stuff, but it feels like there's wasted panels here that aren't doing anything to like expand the story. And then when they're talking about things, it feels like sometimes the word bubbles are needed to help explain what you're visually seeing. And I think that's not necessarily awful. It feels like it's maybe a little bit of inexperience on the part of the illustrator. Again, it's a good story, and I'm really liking it. And there are pages that are just glorious and gorgeous, and like really sketchy. I know it's computer illustrated. It does not feel like it, which is a high compliment. And it's just kind of there's a few things where I'm like I don't know what's happening here, and like those moments of confusion are just enough to take me out of the story at times. I think. The next one's coming. I think it's maybe a little bit behind schedule, maybe not, but it's a 5-issue mini. I would say get it if you like it. You can probably find the back issues fairly easily. I don't think it's probably sold out a lot of places, or you want to wait till the mini. I'm hoping it'll get collected in a miniseries. I know that Scout, like it's all creator funded, and I like to support creators. I like especially nice guys like Felipe. It's just sometimes tough with everyone's budget and stuff, but give it a shot because I do think that if you don't support creator-owned stuff, we're going to stop having creator-owned stuff, and they'll just be god-awful books like Thor, and nobody wants that. So next, we have the talkiest of the talky things that'll be read better in trade paperback, but still a damned interesting book. We have Department of Truth number 21. It's a very James the Tiny Onion writer is slowly peeling the back layers of the tiny onion or the giant onion. I don't know, whatever. The metaphor falls apart in a minute. Martin Simmons' art's great. It is very abstract and it reminds me, like I've said numerous times, of a kind of bit harder to understand Bill Sienkiewicz, and that's also a compliment. I love Bill Sienkiewicz, one of my favorite comic artists of all time. This is not an action-packed book. It is a lot of like world theory as far as like humanity can shape the world by their beliefs, and that's the core essence of Department of Truth. And then there are these government factions playing with that and going back and forth and like vying for the control of what is real, what is not. And as the reader, you're left sometimes in the dark as far as like, well, is this true? Is this fake? And I think Tynan's having a lot of fun playing with that, and I'm generally having a lot of fun reading it. It's just. And this is a thing I've said about Tynan numerous times. His pacing is glacially slow. It definitely will read better in a collected version, especially because you get these arcs and stuff. And in this book, where there are arcs, it still doesn't feel like the plot has progressed a whole lot. And some of that's just the nature of what I said. When there's a shifting back and forth of what's true and what isn't, you're going to end up like with some like I don't know what the hell's going on in moments. And especially when the main character doesn't know what's going on and is in the dark, and that's your eyes into the story. you're also left kind of wondering. It's an interesting book. I'm still along for it. I still love it. I still do think it's a fun enough read if it's your kind of bag. If you like the conspiracy theory, X-Filesy kind of government shenanigans ramped up to like to the 20th degree, it's probably for you. If not, I don't know. Read Win by Tynan. It may be a better read, but also read it in a trade paperback. And I could probably say that about every damn thing James Tynan's ever written. It'll read better collected. On a monthly book, you're paying $4 to $5 a pop, and it is just slow. So, yeah, take it for what it's worth. We have Department of Truth number. I mean, look at that. I mean, the cover feels like it's been a cover of like 45 issues already. There's only been 21. It just seems slow. And yeah, there's a few. Another one I missed was Nice House on the Lake number 10. I realized I didn't get that. So I have to find that one. I've heard it's okay, but it's another Tynan book. And next, this one came out last week, but it's a little bit behind. Nightwing number 96, right? This wraps up the, what the hell's the guy's name? Blockbuster arc. And it's a fun, effective wrap-up of an arc. And that's kind of what I can say about this. It does definitively wrap up the arc. It has kind of the upbeat hopefulness that Tom Taylor has infused into Nightwing. It's got Bruno Redondo's excellent art, although I don't think this is one of his finest issues. He's still one of the better like monthly superhero artists out there, and I like the style and I like the tone that this book has. It's not the dark, grim, and gritty Batman, and I appreciate that. And it does have some great fight scenes and some great panels and some really nice bright colors. It's just a superhero book, and that's not a bad thing. I mean that in a compliment. When superhero books are done well, I think they're fantastic. I think there's a great sense of escapism. I think there's the reason that they've become so popular, and the reason that the movies and everything else has become so popular, because when it's fun and well told, that's a good combination. And that's what this is. It's not going to change the world. It sets up a little bit of the next arc, maybe not really, but it just kind of just wraps it up in an effective enough way with some sense of finality. And then you get the cheesy like relationshipy stuff in here that, it just works for me. It's not, it's not deep literature, but like comics don't have to be. They can sometimes just be fun, and that's this. This is just fun, well told, effective fun. All right, we got two left. Stillwater 15, Chip Zdarsky and Ramon Perez. This is almost, I think might be the second to last issue. It's wrapping up really soon. The Stillwater's town where everybody lives forever. And then No Strange Renters. That's how the damn book began 15 issues ago. And we're getting towards the end of it. And this issue felt like I took a shift tonally into like exploring the ideas more behind immortality and the good and the bad of it all. And it feels a little bit abrupt and a little bit jarring compared to some of the other stuff. I get what Zdarsky's going for, and I get it. I think it's decent. I do think it's a nice change of like just straight up action bang him up that this book sort of has been up until now. It's just a strange little tonal shift at the beginning, and there's enough time between the issues on this one that you're like, oh, really? You sort of forget what happened, and then you realize not really all that much has happened. It's sort of okay, the X-Men books where if people die, they can keep getting brought back, and how that's been problematic and kind of hamstrings the writer as far as stories goes. That's the entire premise of this book. So it's an interesting challenge that Zdarsky set up for himself, and I think it mostly works. The main character, that's where like the weird shift. It's not ringing 100% true to me because like there's been a time jump for that character, but not for the rest of the story, just because of like the wave timey-wimey live forever stuff. When people leave town, they age. When they don't, they don't. Anyways, it's not bad. It really is all. Like a lot of these kind of books, it's really going to depend upon how the hell it ends. And I'm hoping it sticks the landing. Zdarsky's been pretty good, and I will read pretty much at least give a chance to anything he writes. So we'll see. Ramon Perez's art is always solid. Kind of reminds me of Chris Samney on Firepower. Not quite as dynamic, not quite to the level of that, but still pretty decent. Stillwater's 15 issues. I would say at this point definitely trade weighted, but yeah, it's another fun title. And next, a fun title that I have liked up until this point, but this I think is probably the best issue of it, and it's starting to get somewhere, sort of ish, kind of, maybe, kind of ish. 8 Billion Genies number 5. This is Charles Soule and Ryan Brown. Everyone on the Earth gets a genie, and they all get one wish. That's the premise for the entire thing. Sorry, mild spoilers here. And then there's been time jumps. And this issue is like 8 months after the initial the genies first appeared. And so you had these characters you've been following along, and you sort of learn what they've been up to and what happens. And it's still lacking in a cohesive main plot arc. It's like a cool idea that I think Charles Soule is playing with, and I think he's liking the idea, but I think Dick still struggles a bit with like having what I think it'd be a better title if it had one main character you followed throughout. And there's several characters you're following, and they're all fairly interesting, but that's just it. They're just fairly interesting. I think if you could have given a point of view to like one character and just had that be a better eyes into the story, it'd be a bit better. That said, it's still a lot of fun. Ryan Brown's art is kind of quirky and offbeat, but works really well for this story. I think this one actually probably would work fairly well adapted as a miniseries. I think they would probably have to shift and give you a main character, but it's a fun idea experiment more so than it is a book. But it is probably the most fun I had reading this week. So it is my favorite book of the week. It's just not necessarily a fantastic week. The other two that I mentioned that I missed out on might have been contenders: the Superman Space Age and then the Nice House on the Lake. Although Nice House has been another frustrating, really slow book from Tynan, and it's getting close to the end. I've heard that this is a good issue that you should probably pick up. It'll help do some of the explaining bits because that book has been frustratingly vague for about 10 issues, so I should probably hunt it down, and I probably will, but I just have other crap going on, people, because I'm moving, I'm starting a new job, and that is what it is. But yeah, there you have it. Like, subscribe, all that crap. I don't know when the next one will come out, but it'll be out. I will have reviews next week. It's just not sure when. So thank you so much, and don't be a dick, even if you're moving to Madison, Wisconsin. See ya.